Magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
My queen, in all the land, 'tis you are the fattest of them all.
No. Magic mirror, who is the fairest of them all?
Oh, my queen, you are most likely to work at a fair.
No, who? Okay. Magic mirror on the wall, who's the prettiest one of all?
Well, you're pretty ugly if you ask me.
All right, can I speak to customer service, please?
Yes, one moment.
Thank you for calling Magic Mirror Customer Service. This is Deb. How can I help you?
Hi, yes, this is the evil queen. I have a defective mirror. It has called me fat on multiple occasions and recently just called me ugly.
Oh, I am terribly sorry about that, ma'am. Are you fat and ugly?
What? Well, no, I of course, I guess I could drop a few pounds, but who couldn't nowadays? The point is, the thing is supposed to butter me up.
Yes, I totally understand, ma'am. I'm very sorry. I understand you're upset. I think this is probably an issue for our insult department. Let me just transfer you there real quick.
Thank you.
You've reached Magic Mirror's insult department. This is Joe speaking. How can I help you?
Hi. Yes, this is the evil queen. My account number is 67666. My magic mirror today has called me both fat and ugly.
Okay, ma'am. I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and we'll get to the bottom of this, okay?
Okay.
Question number 1. Are you an ugly piece of shit?
What? Sir, how dare you?
Ma'am, listen, I'm sorry. These are the questions they have me ask. It's just protocol.
Well, I mean, of course no one thinks they're an ugly piece of shit. Of course I'm not. I'm the evil queen. I got a rocket ass and a face like a shiny dime.
Okay, rockin' ass, shiny dime, not an ugly piece of shit. Got it. Okay, moving on. Question number 2 here. Do you have an alibi?
A what?
An alibi, you know?
An alibi? For what? No, of course I don't have an alibi.
Okay, UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you're ugly.
Okay, I want to speak to your manager. Put your manager on the phone.
One moment, please. Let me transfer you.
Hi, you've reached the customer service manager. My name is Rachel Zegler. Weird.
Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
And I'm Gage Hurley.
And you have arrived. Where have you arrived? Well, let me ask. Mirror, mirror on the wall, what's the freakiest podcast of them all?
It's the Creep Street Podcast, baby.
You are where you need to be. Now, of course, follow us on Facebook, Instagram at Creep Street Podcast, Twitter at Creep Street Pod, also on TikTok at Creep Street Podcast, and of course, if once a week is not enough for you, and let's face it, we know you like looking in the mirror. We know you do. When you're a perfect 10, I mean, come on. It's the best entertainment out there, and you don't even need a subscription. But I'll tell you where you can get a good subscription. It's over at patreon.com/Creep Street Podcast. Now, folks, listen, you probably already know where I'm going with this, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to grab the bush and yank it out by its roots, hold it up to your face and say, look at it. Today's episode is
Haunted Mirrors.
Yes, and let me just shatter you with my sources here. First, we got Haunted Mirrors and Superstitious Mirror Mythology by Mia Stendhal at Ancient Origins. We've got the History of Mirrors at mirrorhistory.com, which is kind of like a play. It's like literally the article is called The History of Mirrors at mirrorhistory.com. Who would have thought? Who would have thought that someone out there took that time? And then we got 2 articles from the great Brent Swanser. Mirror, Mirror on the Wall, Strange Tales of Mysterious Haunted and Cursed Mirrors, and The Terrifying Mystery of the Dark Mirror, both of these articles at Mysterious Universe. Now, Creep Street, we have covered all manner of haunted objects on this show over the years. Haunted paintings, haunted cars, even haunted furniture. However, nestled deep within the twisted annals of ghostly folklore, mirrors have long held a place in our collective psyche. The ancient Romans saw them as reflections of the soul, vessels that could unleash mayhem if mishandled. Many cultures imbue mirrors with dark, supernatural abilities, believing that they can ensnare the soul and even foretell death or even reveal glimpses into alternate dimensions. The Chinese once saw mirrors as not just reflective surface, but as windows gazing upon other realms. Mirrors have also served as conduits for communing with spirits, acting as gateways of sorts to the netherworld. They stand as a thin barrier between the living and the spectral plane, and as guardians of that veiled threshold that separates us from the departed. Mirrors even find their place in the arcane arts of divination. Practices like cataptromancy and inuptromancy, God, I'm sweating on those. They capture the moon's reflection in mirrors as a way of unveiling the future. And this pervasive belief in the mirror's power might explain the tales of haunted mirrors that we're about to explore. So ingrained in global culture that various societies observe the tradition of shrouding mirrors after death. This is done to thwart the peering eyes from beyond and to prevent spectral intrusions or to stop a soul from being ensnared within the mirror's hidden realm. Well, tonight on Creep Street, we're going to look into that mirror. We're going to get out that hair gel, slick it back, you know what I'm saying? Put on the lipstick and give yourself a kiss so it leaves those lip marks right there on the mirror. We're going to dive into the reflective and often eerie history of these mirrors. You can imagine gazing into a pool of water was essentially the first mirror rippling under an open sky, the very reflection of oneself merging with the elements. Early humans were mesmerized by their own images in natural reservoirs and streams and rivers, and this marked the beginning of a fascination that would evolve through the ages. I mean, you got to think, that almost has to be what the first mirrors were, right? Like,
absolutely.
It only makes sense. And, if you then, I didn't even think about it, but if you then tie it to the elements of water, as we know on Creep Street, we often talk about water, much like mirrors, are often considered a conduit for paranormal activity. So it's interesting that probably the first mirrors, that water and mirrors kind of went hand in hand in that way.
Yeah, and human beings are like a large portion water. Obviously, we need water to live. It's kind of part of our essence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in a weird way, you can see the kind of magic of it, the element of water that is reflecting your reflection back to you, and you yourself are, I think like 70% water, they say, or something like that. Like
something like that, yeah.
It does make sense. It's almost like it ties you to your reflection. Not only, obviously, it's reflecting you, but in a way, you are seeing yourself in nature, like your very essence. You're absolutely right. It's like your very essence, it ties you to these elements in a way.
I wonder if people of the past thought that was them seeing their soul in a way.
That's probably, honestly, there was an episode we covered, The Big Gray Man of Ben Macdouey. I can't remember what the phenomenon's called, but this is similar, but like it's very misty often on this mountain. And one of the theories of this creature, of this kind of hulking creature in the mist, there's certain times when the sunlight hits you, it can literally project your shadow onto the mist. And it might look like it's 10, 15, 20 feet tall. So, that was one theory of what people might be seeing and thinking it's this sort of hulking beast walking through the mist, it's when it's actually their own. It's kind of like that. We see our reflection and we wonder, because really when you think about it, you're the only person who can't see what you look like without the use of a mirror or a camera.
Right. Yes.
How can you really trust what you're seeing? Like, it's kind of weird when you think about it like that. We're the only person who can't actually see ourselves directly.
It's the paradox of being.
Yes, absolutely. Well, fast forward to ancient civilizations where the crafting of mirrors began to take on a more tangible form. In Turkey, archaeologists unearthed polished stone and obsidian mirrors dating back to a staggering 6,000 years. The ancient Egyptians took a shine to polish copper for their reflective needs, and often framing these mirrors with intricate designs that kind of hinted at both the opulence of owning one, but also the possible divine nature of them as well. And not to be outdone, the ancient Mesopotamians crafted mirrors from polished metals, their surfaces gleaming with alchemy and power. And across the ocean, in the verdant landscapes of Central and South America, polished stone mirrors emerged around 2000 BC. Their cool surfaces like a silent testament to the ingenuity of ancient craftsmanship. Now, in the Far East, the Chinese innovated with metal alloys, blending tin and copper into what is known as speculum metal, a material that could be polished to a dazzling sheen, capturing more than just images, but the very soul of the beholder themselves. And oh, baby, let's not forget about those ancient Romans. No. Those ancient artisans who experimented with glass and lead backings to craft their version of the mirror by the 1st century AD in Lebanon. Those mirrors were not as refined as those to come, but represented a pivotal step in the evolution of reflective technology. And mirrors obviously not only serve as personal adornments or tools for looking at yourself, but they're integral in the realms of science and technology. Vital components in telescopes that gaze deep into the cosmos, the cameras capturing moments, whether it's a film camera or a movie camera or a snapshot camera, and lasers, of course, cutting through the fabric of materials and in industrial machinery, driving the cogs of progress. So, yeah, mirrors, like we know, it's not just for looking at yourself. Like, we use mirrors for all sorts of things. The ancient Egyptians and Romans and Greeks not only admired their own visages in the polished copper and bronze, but wove them into the very fabric of their rich mythologies. You can imagine the first glass mirrors emerging in the 3rd century AD, shimmering into existence across Egypt and Gaul and Germany and Asia. These weren't just simple tools for viewing one's own reflection, but they were symbols of depth and mystery. As the art of glass blowing then evolved in the 14th century, the discovery of convex mirrors brought these mystical portals to broader circulation, expanding their reach to the daily lives of many. It's like anything. It starts off as this kind of rare thing only for like the powerful and the rich, and then it kind of eventually they find out how to mass produce so that everyone can have it. It's kind of like the printing press. Bibles at one time were only meant for like the priesthood. The average person wasn't allowed to have a Bible, but with the advent of the printing press and all that stuff, everyday people were then able to own the Bible. And that's how you then you see religions kind of spouting up because people are able to read it, see what they see in it, and it kind of evolves new ideas. And it's, in mirrors, it's kind of the same way. But mirrors, dear listeners, are more than meets the eye. Of course, steeped in superstition and lore, the Romans believed that mirrors captured more than just images, they captured souls. Such was the fear of breaking a mirror, thought to bring, of course, 7 years of misfortune, reflecting the time it was believed to take for a soul to renew itself. I didn't realize that that's where the specific number of 7 came from. 7 years bad luck. I didn't realize it was attached to this belief that the soul renews every 7 years or something. I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll have to do one episode, we should do like straight up like common superstitions, like the number 13 or tossing salt over your shoulder if you spill salt. Like, where did those little things come from? I think would make for an excellent episode.
Yeah, absolutely. I bet there's some interesting history behind a lot of those.
Absolutely. as we march forward to the Renaissance, the method of coating glass with a tin and mercury amalgam was perfected, and the city of Venice rose as a powerhouse in the mirror-making realm. Yet these reflective wonders at the time were still luxuries, treasures lined with silver and secrets, available only to the wealthiest, of course. Well, enter Justus von Liebig in 1835, whose invention of the silvered glass mirror revolutionized the way mirrors were made, finally allowing the common man to gaze into his own reflection without the burden of immense cost. Like we were saying, it's capitalism, baby. Gotta keep that assembly line moving. Come on, let's make some money. Well, today, mirrors coated with aluminum in vacuums are descendants of these historic innovations. And still, even as society evolved, the superstitions would linger. A mirror unexpectedly falling from a wall might portend death. And mirrors are often veiled during times of mourning to prevent the devil himself, perhaps, from trapping the souls of the departed within their glassy depths. And I'll tell you, I don't know about you, like obviously I use mirrors. If, you're getting dressed, you got a mirror in your closet or something. But yeah, like if there's like a mirror at the end of the hallway or something, where it's just, there's a part of me that's like, I'm afraid I'm going to see something like behind me or something. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of like that too. I don't like just having like mirrors all around. Yeah. In the 19th century, the Myrtles plantation stood as a looming specter on the outskirts of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Now, Myrtles plantation will be a episode all its own in the future. As you can imagine, this being a plantation, this was a place of slavery, and untold horrors were committed there, and it's said to be very haunted to this day. So yeah, we're starting off in kind of a bummer territory. Sorry about that, but it is important to this story. This plantation was owned by Sarah Matilda and her husband, Clark Woodruff. And the plantation was a sprawling estate with 20 rooms and a grand wraparound veranda that almost gave it the air of a fortress. A fortress that was powered, of course, by the toils of slave labor, marking a dark chapter in its history. Among those who were enslaved was a woman named Chloe, who bore the brunt of Woodruff's harsh cruelties. She suffered through relentless beatings and verbal abuse, and a particularly gruesome punishment. If you got kids listening, this is it's just really sad more than anything, but her ears were severed for the sin of eavesdropping. So medieval. It's just, every time we come to one of these subjects, and it's just, you're never not surprised by the depth of human cruelty, how deep it can go. It's just,
Yeah, just over eavesdropping.
Right. Like, what a fucking douche. Like, I know that's an understatement, of course.
Like, anybody who would do that to a person hasn't done worse themselves than eavesdropping.
Jesus. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like cutting someone's ears. It's like, Jesus Christ. It's so just awful, awful, awful. From then on, she would wear a green head wrap to mask the scars that her tormentor gave her. But the seething undercurrent of revenge began to brew within her, and rightfully so, you can obviously understand. Given the horrors she endured, it's no surprise that Chloe held a deep loathing for her captors. At the 9th birthday party of one of the Woodruff daughters, Chloe saw her opportunity for retribution. Tasked with baking the birthday cake, she surreptitiously infused it with a deadly essence of oleander leaves. Now, some say she did intend to murder the family, but others speculate that it was more just kind of to make them sick, as kind of like an FU, hoping then to maybe restore her standing with the family by nursing them back to health, in a way. And even if not, at least if they couldn't trace it back to you, it's like a, fuck you sort of thing, However, the poison did prove to be fatal, claiming the lives of both Sarah and her young daughter. Upon discovering Chloe's deed, it was not the Woodruffs, but the other slaves who exacted vengeance. Outraged by her actions that they felt would kind of put them all in trouble, essentially, in a grim display of frontier justice, they bound Chloe and executed her by hanging, and then discarded her body into the swirling currents of the Mississippi River. Obviously, such a dark, awful thing to even think about, but yet the tale, of course, does not end with Chloe's death. Legend suggests that her spirit never departed from the plantation. Her presence, they say, is marked by eerie occurrences and ghostly sightings that suggest she still lingers there, perhaps forever entwined with the land where she suffered and died. And once again, after she was killed, was put into the water to sort of wash, away. It's such horrifying imagery, but like we said, it kind of comes back to the elements in a way, to water in a weird way. Interesting that it comes back to that. Now, today, the Myrtles plantation has become a stark reminder of the evils of slavery, of course, but also it's known as a hotbed of ghostly disturbances, many attributing the supernatural turmoil to Chloe herself. And among the myriad of eerie tales, one in particular stands out: the haunted mirror located in the main hall. Visitors and staff alike report all manner of strange phenomena associated with this mirror. Ghostly visages float within its frame, including the unmistakable figure of Chloe adorned with her green head wrap, alongside the sorrowful spirits of Mrs. Woodruff and her daughter, who died of the poisoning. The mirror seems to hold captive, as the legend goes, other tormented souls as well that are tied to the plantation's violent past. The mirror's surface is a portal to the paranormal, not just visually, but audibly as well. Folks say you can hear mournful weeping, disembodied voices, and even blood-curdling screams, all said to emanate from the mirror itself, of course giving the mirror an even more foreboding essence to it. And adding to its eerie allure, they say handprints will mysteriously manifest on its surface, despite the strict prohibition against touching it, suggesting that they might not be living hands touching it. But I hope they brought Windex. Come on, gotta buff it out.
Keep it clean. You're getting it all smudged.
Oh, come on. But, of course, the strangeness does not end there. At times, when gazing into the mirror, they say the wallpaper reflected in the glass behind the person looking into the mirror will differ from the actual wallpaper that's on the walls, as if they're looking into another version of that room, another dimension where that room exists, but it's decorated differently.
Yeah, how strange. Yeah, like my house is mid-century modern. Look into the mirror and see 70s wood wallpaper.
Yeah, got shag carpet.
Shag carpet, yeah. God.
Yeah, dang. But as you can imagine, I could see, especially if it's subtle at first, maybe it's the same color or something, but maybe the pattern is just off a little bit, to where it's like, you kind of like wonder, like, what did I just see, Or maybe it's a very stark difference. Maybe it's, like I said, maybe a totally different color and pattern and whatever, but...
Maybe in there you got the IKEA collection.
Yes, absolutely. Get those meatballs, baby. But it's like, it plays into that fear of like, what if you make a move and your reflection doesn't, or it does something that you don't do,
Yeah, very creepy.
Ooh, very freaky indeed. Well, in the shadowy corners of Hollywood's glamorous past, we're going out to Southern Cal. The tale of Bela Lugosi. He apparently had a haunted mirror that casts a long, eerie shadow. And I had never heard of this one before. I've always been a huge fan of the early Universal monster pictures, the Boris Karloff, the Lon Chaneys, the Bela Lugosi's. I've always loved those classic monster films. And Lugosi is still, to this day, obviously vampires have evolved in pop culture. They've been scary, they've been sexy, they've been all that. But the quintessential vampire, if you think of it, someone says vampire, almost certainly the first thing that's going to pop in your head is something similar to Bela Lugosi's Dracula.
Yeah, it's iconic. It's kind of the first impression people go to.
Yes.
When they do a Dracula impression.
Absolutely. And I know, I think if I remember correctly, he was doing the play on Broadway and they were making it to a film. So he just transitioned right from the play to the film. because the play and the original movie differ quite a bit from the book itself. It's still great. It's just great in a different way. But I could go on Bela Lugosi forever. I love reading about the early Hollywood and whatnot. Of course, Lugosi is immortalized in pop culture as the quintessential Count Dracula. He was not only a pivotal figure in the golden age of horror cinema, but he was also apparently very enthusiastic about the occult. His interests extended beyond the screen into the real-life realm of the supernatural, with a particular fascination for scrying, a form of divination using reflective surfaces to uncover mystical insights or communicate with the spirit world. This could, as we know, like we said, it could be mirrors, crystal balls, or even the surface of water. Now, Lugosi's mirror was a grand and imposing one, and it was more than just part of the decor. It was a portal through which he sought to connect with the beyond. It said the actor would spend hours peering into its depths, searching for messages from the other side. And this mirror remained with him until his death, after which it fell into the hands of Frank Saletti, a lawyer and hobbyist filmmaker with ties to Hollywood's underbelly. The mirror's dark allure only deepened when Saletti himself met a grim fate. He was murdered in the very room where the mirror hung, its surface silently witnessing the crime. Now today, the mirror resides in the eerie collection of the man himself, Mr. Zach Bagans of Ghost Adventures. It is housed within his museum in Las Vegas, and it continues to be a source of fascination and fear, and it's reputed to display ghostly apparitions and even inflict physical distress upon those who dare gaze too deeply into its reflective surface. Reports of adverse reactions have been so severe that emergency services have reportedly been summoned to aid overwhelmed visitors. Whether these stories are mere embellishments or true, the legend of Lugosi's mirror persists to this day. Now, this next story, it's kind of the centerpiece of our tale. One of the most infamous haunted mirrors is known as the Dark Mirror, an artifact of chilling repute and mysterious origins. In fact, it is now under the care of Greg and Dana Newkirk and their traveling museum of the paranormal. Of course, the Newkirks were the creators of the docuseries Hellier, amazing docuseries. This mirror is unlike any ordinary reflective surface. It's a black mirror, a scrying tool coated in black paint to shield and yet reveal the unseen. As we already know, scrying, it's the ancient art of gazing into reflective surfaces to either see the future or commune with spirits or what have you. Those brave and foolhardy enough peer into its depths, this black mirror, have reported a spectrum of disturbing experiences, such as severe migraines, demonic visages flickering at the corners of their vision, vivid nightmares, and unexplained paranormal disturbances that ripple through their lives long after the mirror is covered up and put away. The black mirror is said to be a tool only for the most seasoned of paranormal experts or the most daring. Its power to connect with the beyond is apparently unrivaled and apparently unhindered by the safeguards that bind lesser objects. Now, the story of how the Dark Mirror was acquired by the Newkirks in their Museum of the Occult is rather eerie. Greg recounts the chilling tale, which begins with a woman named Sarah. Now, Sarah, her mother had delved too deeply into the dark art of scrying, apparently. Her mother had acquired this mirror at a psychic convention and became unexplainably drawn to its foreboding surface. She would spend apparently countless hours locked in a trance-like state, her eyes just fixed on that black mirror. One day, her obsession reached a fever pitch, and the concern of her loved ones grew as she kind of started to withdraw further into solitude, the mirror just consuming nearly all of her waking moments, compelling her to shroud it and sequester it away. She even denounced it as evil. While distraught and desperate to rid her life of this thing, Sarah reached out to the Newkirks, hoping to get this thing off her hands, you know what I mean? And not just for her, but obviously to help her mother. I mean, that is a pretty interesting, it's one thing someone goes into solitude for many reasons, depression or whatever. It's interesting to think about it manifesting in that way of someone who can't stop looking into this black mirror. It is interesting to think about. That would be freaky if someone just, and obviously we're not talking in like a vain way, like, baby, I look good. It's literally like a trance-like state. Like she's not there. She's just gone.
Almost like being possessed by the mirror.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, it's like there's something that just won't let her go. Well, the Newkirks, of course, are seasoned collectors of haunted and cursed artifacts, and they took in the mirror and placed it amidst their trove of abominable relics. Initially, even they underestimated the potent power of the Black Mirror, and surrounded as it was by other artifacts that were already supposedly haunted and cursed, at first it was like they couldn't tell, was it coming from the mirror or was it just coming from the myriad of other haunted objects, But as the days unfolded, it became clear that the mirror was not just merely another oddity in their collection. In fact, cool side note, I think I'm still subscribed to it, but the Newkirks have a Patreon where you can support their traveling museum, and they'll do cool videos when they get something new. They'll post a video and they'll show it to you and all that stuff. Sometimes they'll even do like rituals or say like on video. Like if they have an object, like a mirror, they might do like a scrying session on video. It's pretty cool. So if you want to support the Newkirks, you can check them out on Patreon. It's really cool. Visitors to their museum began to report unsettling experiences when gazing into the mirror. There were many claims of shadows flitting across its surface, or fleeting glimpses of figures lurking in the observer's periphery, and a sort of oppressive aura that emanated from the glass itself. But this was just the beginning. Some, as we know, reported headaches that just clawed at them. It was like there were claws in their skull, just excruciating headaches. Others would experience a deep sense of melancholy, and others would recount nightmares that haunted them long after they visited the museum. And the Newkirks soon realized that this mirror was unique amongst their collection. It was like a portal which unguarded spirits could touch the world of the living. It was a mirror that didn't just reflect reality, but it almost seemed to bend it, blurring the veil between dimensions. And the dark mirror continues to captivate and terrify museum visitors. The aura around it only, intensifying as its legend grows and spreads. Its reputation is cemented within the paranormal community. Greg Newkirk, ever the cautious curator, he observed the unnerving effects that the mirror had on those who dared look into it. Plus, the string of disturbing encounters began to sketch a darker picture as to the mirror's true nature. The Newkirks were usually very open to letting people even touch objects, but they soon learned that this was not a good idea with this particular artifact. At an event where the mirror was on display, a woman asked if she could see it and even touch it, to which the Newkirks happily allowed. But when she looked into the mirror, it said she saw her own decaying flesh, like she saw herself in a state of rot, as if she was dead and her flesh was rotting and falling off. The woman, of course, screamed and fled the convention center. Of course, everyone, I'm sure, is like, what the hell was that? And it, of course, deterred others from approaching it. Well, the Newkirks recognized the potential hazard of such a powerful paranormal object, and they decided to impose a temporary moratorium on its public use. The decision was driven by a responsible urge to protect the public from the unknown and even possibly malevolent forces that were attached to this mirror. Yet despite his reservations, Greg Newkirk himself felt an inexplicable pull to the mirror. It was like a silent call that would always tempt him to peer into it. The way I think about it, it's almost like the way the ring in Lord of the Rings, how even when Gandalf in the beginning, he sees it, you can tell even Gandalf is kind of he's kind of drawn to it. And then he's like, no, put it away. Because he's even I know the power of this thing. I know even I can get sucked into it and sort of seduced by it. And it seems like that's kind of even though Greg knows very well the dangers of it, even then he could feel that pull. Of course, this object, despite Newkirk's decision to restrict access to the mirror, the allure of its dark power was stronger than ever. It became the subject of intense scrutiny and speculation, and drawing the brave and the curious alike. In the shadowy corners of the Paranormal Museum, the dark mirror was like a testament to the mysterious and often terrifying encounters that bridge our world with the next. This is a quote from Greg about what he had to say of the mirror on his website, Weak and Weird. The mirror wasn't quite the same when we brought it home, or maybe I wasn't. After we had unpacked our collection and returned the items to their usual places, I began to notice myself sort of staring off into space. And when snapped back to awareness, realizing that I'd been staring at a covered mirror the whole time, I started to feel a strong urge to gaze into the black glass. Maybe I was just subconsciously weirded out by the disturbing reports of those who gazed, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the mirror wanted me to use it. Whether it was my own mind playing tricks on me or not, I resisted. The legend of the dark mirror grew within the walls of the traveling museum. Its sinister allure, of course, only kept getting deeper. Reintroduced finally to the public, each encounter with the mirror seemed to peel back the veil even more between what they knew about it and the unknown with almost chilling precision. Guests at the museum were warned very well of the risks and approached the mirror with a mixture of trepidation and curiosity. The experience varied wildly, of course. Some spectators left disappointed, seeing nothing beyond their own reflections, of course, and others were thrust into a nightmare, visions of grotesque distortions and spectral horrors. The reports ranged from unsettling feelings to literal visions of demonic entities, or scenes of personal deformity or death, each encounter leaving a mark on the psyche of the viewer. The physical reactions were no walk in the park either. Visitors would report things such as the sensation of an electric charge, inexplicable headaches, and, of course, a disorienting sense of vertigo. One particular distressing account involved a woman whose mouth suddenly filled with the metallic taste of blood as she stared into the glass. Her reflection twisted then into something unrecognizable. Even animals are said to not be immune to the malignant presence of this mirror. Newkirk's cats, normally curious creatures, they apparently give this mirror a lot of space. They don't want to go anywhere near it, occasionally casting a weary stare at it, suggesting maybe they can even pick up on something that, even though people already know it's freaky, they might even be able to sense something even darker, even freakier that the humans can't yet see. And I think about it, you see on TikTok, Instagram, there's all sorts of videos of animals when they see the reflection. They see it too, and they're just like early humans are, you're drawn to it. And, think about it. If there's a mirror in the room, of course you're not just gonna stare right into it, but say you're having a conversation, you might occasionally just look over and peek. You just peek to see how you look.
Right.
It's kind of an instinctual thing. Even in 2025, there's something about seeing ourselves reflected that we're kind of curious of. We still, even though we have access to mirrors daily, your eyes are drawn to your reflection. The nightly ritual covering the mirror became a task to be dreaded. Despite securely veiling it each evening, the cover was almost always found removed by the next morning, as if the mirror didn't want that dang thing covering it and ripped it off. It'd be like, putting your blanket on the bed, coming back and finding the blanket ripped off. But no one would have been around to do it. And it was put on in a way that it couldn't just slide off or something. It was literally like something ripped it right off. So, in an attempt to maybe discover the mystery of what was going on, the Newkirks set up a night vision camera and focused it right at the mirror, only to find the memory card wiped clean each morning. The data inexplicably erased. And of course, the blanket or whatever they covered it with laying on the ground. It's almost like in a cartoon when, like, Tom and Jerry, Tom puts out a mousetrap with the cheese. Somehow Jerry's able to get the cheese, and it's Tom's the one who gets hit by the... Kind of like that. It's like...
He checks the mousetrap. He's like, yeah.
Yeah, and then his finger gets clipped in it or something, you know? It's kind of like that. It's like, no matter the safeguards they would put up, or even a freaking camera, it would like, almost like it was like, no. You don't get to watch, buddy.
This particular spirit was very tech savvy. He got the memory card out, he popped it into the computer, and he dragged all those files to the trash bin.
Whew. He's like, hey, I want all of this hardcore amateur stuff erased, all right? I got a reputation to uphold.
Right.
So these accumulated incidents were sort of cemented the dark mirror as one of the most infamous items in the traveling museum. And its presence continued to challenge the boundaries of reality. And of course, only the bravest would ever dare to look deep into it and ask whether some doors once open, can they ever truly be closed? I mean, think about it. Some people reported, even after long leaving the museum, were haunted by nightmares or things for a while until it's almost like you got a cold. And like, you know, for a couple weeks after you got it, you're still sick until it finally goes away. Paranormal investigators, of course, initially skeptical, found themselves converted into true believers as they peered into the dark glass. Some were confronted, as we know, by images that were so harrowing that they left even the most seasoned professionals shaken and stirred, like just the way Bond likes his drinks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, a spiritual cocktail.
Whew, that's right. Come on, Moneypenny. To top it off, this was what I thought interesting as well. Its presence at the museum seemed to also amplify the paranormal power of the other haunted objects that were in the museum. Almost like it was given a boost, like a battery, to all the other haunted artifacts as well. Sort of creating a paranormal buffet, and one you don't want to go back for seconds. I'll tell you that. It's all you can eat, but you know what? You don't want any more. Get the check. Get out of there. Pay the tab. Get out of there. Go to Chili's. This escalation of events, of course, led the Newkirks to a difficult decision. Despite its popularity and the invaluable data that it provided for paranormal research, the risks that came with it became too great. So, with heavy hearts, they removed it from public display, opting instead to secure it away from prying eyes. The mirror was tightly wrapped and placed in a chest adorned with symbols of faith, a crucifix, and a rosary. And as it lay locked away, the mirror continued to haunt the thoughts of all who had witnessed its power. It was a chilling reminder that perhaps some mysteries are better left unsolved, and certain doors better left unopened. Greg Newkirk would continue to say this: after coming into possession of the dark mirror and watching hundreds of people have their own terrifying experiences while using it, it's our belief that the piece isn't exactly haunted per se, but an object that seems to feed on human interaction, even fear. In the beginning, the dark mirror was just another object with an intriguing story behind it. But as we began to feed it a steady stream of freaked out witnesses and haunted locations across the country, it became pretty easy to see the mirror was affected by all the attention. It took Sarah's mother several weeks of regular, individual scrying sessions for her interactions with the mirror to come to a head. But for 3 months, we'd been feeding it a veritable all-you-can-eat buffet. It's as if the dark mirror is acting as a kind of battery. After each event, the phenomena that the mirror exhibits gets a little harder to ignore, leading me to believe that by allowing the brave and curious to gaze into the mirror, not to mention doing so in some of the world's most haunted places, we're charging it. In turn, it seems like the juice gets used not just by the dark mirror, but by other objects as well. Almost like a generator of sorts. Now, in the shadowy world of the paranormal, the dark mirror, of course, holds a particular enigmatic allure. Most recently, Greg Newkirk has once again introduced the mysterious mirror into the public, despite its history of disturbing interactions. They decided to bring it back to the limelight, and they wrapped it in a chest and only unveiled it for controlled viewings, trying their best to balance fascination with safety. Well, theories abound as to the true nature of the dark mirror. Some suggest that it, like many legends of haunted mirrors, that it acts as like a portal or a gateway to another realm where spirits and other entities can pass through. Others believe that the mirror itself might be haunted or cursed or imbued with some sort of malevolent force capable of influencing our world. And yet, there are those who argue that it might simply just be a catalyst for the human mind's capacity for horror, triggered by the eerie stories that envelop it. Now, over the years, on Creep Street here, we've talked about the human ability, or at least the theoretical human ability, to conjure things from the mind into reality. These are known as tulpas, or thought forms. A common example is the Slender Man. Now, Slender Man, as we know, it started as a fictional story in online forums like Creepypasta and No Sleep, but many say, because of course there was even that documentary about those young girls who tried to kill someone in the name of Slender Man, and, other people around the world have earnestly claimed that they have seen the Slender Man. And, there's a thought that our collective fear of something ends up manifesting it. And I don't mean it's just in your head, like you're imagining it, but it literally came out of your head, essentially. And it's very real, but it came from your head.
Maybe there are entities that can take different forms, and they have gravitated toward that prevailing fear.
Absolutely. Like, say, we did an episode a long time ago about phantom clowns. People that have reported encounters with clowns that were almost supernatural in nature. And it's like, well, why a clown? Was there a famous clown that died? And it's like, no, it's because it's manifesting as something, and it might be this thing that is well known and people have a collective, fear of. It might manifest itself that way. So it's fun to think about. Tulpas and thought forms, it's a very broad subject, and it pops up in a lot of our episodes. I would like to do an episode on thought forms, but it's just such a broad topic that it's pretty self-explanatory. Thought form, something that is manifested by collective thought. But yeah, very fascinating. The only way to truly understand the dark mirror is to experience it firsthand. And with each viewing, and with each person who dares peer into it, the legend grows. As it continues to be displayed, the mirror invites the brave to look deeper and to challenge the boundaries of their understanding, and to question the very fabric of reality. Yeah, we've covered all manner of things on the show. We've covered haunted furniture, haunted cars. I started working on an episode of haunted instruments.
We got a haunted toothbrush episode coming up you don't want to miss.
Literally, it'll have your teeth chattering, but they'll look good. But like mirrors, I feel like hold a special place because there's something so intimate about mirrors. There's something so intimately entwined between us and mirrors. It is how we know ourselves and recognize ourselves. So I can understand why there might be, of all objects, mirrors especially, I could see being a conduit for, or almost like a paranormal cooler with some ice cold brews inside, some terror brews, just keeping them nice and cold.
Ice cold ghouls.
But I'll tell you what, Gage Hurley, I got a list of names I wouldn't mind seeing reflected back at me in the mirror.
Oh yeah? Who's that?
The names of our top-tier Patreon subscribers. Of course, the Dream James Watkins, the Finnish Face Via Lungfist, the Madman Marcus Hall, the Tenacious Teresa Hackworth, the Heartbreak Kid Chris Hackworth, the Oh-So-Suave Sean Richardson, the Notorious Nicholas Barker, the Terrifying Taylor Lashmet, the Count of Cool Cameron Corliss, the Archduke of Attitude Adam Archer, the Sinister Sam Kiker, the Nightmare of New Zealand Noeline Vivilli, the Loathsome Johnny Love, the Carnivorous Kevin Bogey, the Killer Stud Carl Staub, the Firestarter Heather Carter, the Conqueror Christopher Damian Damaris, the Awfully Awesome Annie, the Murderous Maggie Leach, the Serve Sexy Sam Hackworth, the Evil Elizabeth Riley, Lauren Hellfire Hernandez Lopez, the Maniacal Laura Maynard, the Vicious Karen Van Vieren, the Arch Nemesis Aaron Bird, the Sadistic Sergio Castillo, the Rapscallion Ryan Crum, the Beast Benjamin Huang, the Devilish Chris Doucette, the Psycho Sam, the Electric Emily Zhang, the Ghoulish Gert Hankum, the Renegade Corey Ramos, the Crazed Carlos, the Antagonist Andrew Park, the Monstrous Michaela Schur, the Witchy Wonder J.P. Weimer, the Freaky Ben Forsyth, the Barbaric Andrew Barry, the Mysterious Marcella, the Hellacious Cale Hoffman, and Pugblorb, the Poltergeist. Oh, that's right. That's right. Listen, Creep Street, you don't got to ask the mirror. We already know you are the fairest of them all, each and every one of you. Of course, if you want to join those we just listed, head on over to patreon.com for special content. We just started doing the sketches that we do at the beginning of the show. We're starting to create sketches that are exclusive to the Patreon. So if you like those are there. We've got the Moonset series. And of course, if you're a top tier Patreon subscriber, you get an additional 2 bonus episodes a month on top of the Moonset Gazette and the sketches and everything. So it is a boondoggle of goodies.
It is.
So head on over there and dive in. Gage, where can the people find you? What are you working on? Tell us, what have you been doing?
Yeah, you can find me at Vaporverse on YouTube. I'm also on Spotify and Apple Music now. Yeah, working on some interesting music over there.
I'll tell you what, guys, I do this quite a bit. If I'm playing Xbox, sometimes I'll turn the music in the game off, still have all the dialogue and sound effects, and then I'll have Spotify going also on Xbox, and you can have your own soundtrack. I'll tell you, I love to put on Gage's music while I'm gaming. It's really good. It's got a good flow to it. It just fits well. I do that often. I'm playing Path of Exile 1, the first one, right now, and I like to turn on Gage's music, turn on a little Vaporverse, and dive right in. So,
thank you.
Yeah, go check it out, everybody. Citizens of the Milky Way, my name is Dylan Hackworth.
And I'm Gage Hurley.
Good night, and goodbye.